Okay, let's get started, everyone. Thank you. Thank you very much. Good evening, and thank you all for joining us here tonight. This is an extraordinary meeting of Frome Town Council, and the main item on the agenda is to decide whether to lease with an option to buy Badgers Hill Stadium to a private operator. I'm Fiona Barrows. I am Chair and Leader of Frome Town Council, and I will be chairing tonight's meeting. As well as people in the room, we also have people joining us online, and I think also in the Vine Tree pub as well, I've heard. So for those of you there, I hope you're all having a lovely evening. For those in the room, a little housekeeping. The emergency exit is in the rear corner of the room, and the assembly point is to the far side of the car park. Toilets are at the end of the corridor on the right, and there is an accessible toilet to the right of the lift. Please do help yourself to refreshments. They're just outside the door. Tonight, Paul will clerk. Laura, Sarah, Becca and Rachel will be managing the minutes, the Q&A board, participant settings and the IT generally. The public session of the meeting will be recorded and will be available on our YouTube channel. For those who are attending via Zoom, please ask questions through the online Q&A board. We have some business to conduct before we get to the main agenda item. So the first one is dispensations, which is over to you, Paul.
Yeah, apologies for the kind of technical side of this, but because the site that we're talking about is owned by the town council, all councillors technically have interest in that. And if all their interests were recorded and acted upon, that would mean that they all have to leave the room. That may be a good idea.
Who makes the decision?
So to get around that, to enable business to be done, I've received requests for dispensations to allow councillors to partake in the discussion and vote. And here's the list of the dispensations here. And I've got one from every councillor, and they have ticked the box that says they're a member of Frome Town Council. In addition, Councillor Ashford has ticked the box saying she's involved in Purple Elephant. And secondly, Cara Colonat is a member of the CBS. So I suggest that you propose, Fiona, to decide, or to propose and then second, to give the councillors dispensations to enable them to contribute and vote.
So we're not reading all of them out, we're just...
I'll read out the specific apologies when we get to that point, but this allows the meeting to proceed.
Brilliant. I propose that we award dispensations to all councillors who have declared interests. Can someone second? Andy Jones, and vote.
Max, have you got your hand up?
Yeah. There we go.
That's unanimous.
That's unanimous. Thank you. The next item is apologies. Again, over to you, Paul.
Yeah, we've had apologies from, here we are, Nick Dove, Philip Campagna, Mel Usher, Anita Collier and Anne Hills. And Anita and Anne have both asked me to explain why they're giving their apologies. And this is because they are directors of the CBS. And I have advised them not to request dispensation to allow them to vote because they obviously have a much more conflict of interest. And that would mean they have to do that now and leave the room and never come back again. So they thought it was wiser if they just tendered their apologies, but they have asked me to explain why they've done that. So you would need to...
Yes, so do we have a proposer to accept those apologies? Mark, a seconder, Polly, and all those in favour?
That's unanimous.
Brilliant, thank you. Right, we now...
Declarations of interest now.
Any declarations of interest?
So, as I said at the beginning, every councillor here tonight has declared an other registrable interest because they're a member of Frome Town Council and that owns the site. In addition, as I said, I think Tracy is a member of Purple Elephant, and Carla, for the record, is a member of the CBS, and the latter is a pecuniary interest because Carla is a shareholder which has a monetary value. If those want to stay behind, I'll explain all that afterwards if you like.
But to be clear, those who are on the board of directors of the CBS are not here tonight. So just to be very clear on that. Is that everything on that? Great. We have, the next item is an item that is on the agenda of all of our council meetings, which is, are there any comments from the public or councillors that do not relate to the main agenda item? Please be aware it's going to take us a long time to make this decision, so I'm kind of hoping no one says anything, but I will ask. Is there anything? No? Great. Okay, right, let's move on. So, the main item under discussion tonight. So this item concerns whether to approve the proposal from a private operator to lease Badgers Hill with an option to buy. At the prospective leasee's request, we have not revealed their identity, and we ask everyone present to respect this. I'm sure that one of us will probably slip up at some point tonight, but we're going to try really hard not to. This is, to be clear, this is the only decision that we are making tonight. It is not a decision on any other option or proposal. It is a decision on the proposal that is in front of us from the private operator and on the heads of terms that have been negotiated up to this point. This is, I think we all realise, a really important decision, and that is verified by how many of you are in the room tonight. It is about whether to entrust in management of an important community asset to a private individual. This decision is not about any of the clubs, but about the asset itself, the actual site of Badgers Hill. Badgers Hill has been home for both men and women's football for many years and is used and valued by many different people, organisations and communities here in Frome. Frome Town Council acquired the asset in 2023 following an earlier repayment of a loan held by previous owners in response to the threat of imminent repossession. We repaid the loan with Frome Town Council funds, which means that to me it is owned by the community. It's owned by every single person in Frome because that money came from every person in Frome. In that year, Frome Town Council worked with stakeholders to establish the Frome Town Community Benefit Society to manage and develop the stadium as both a sporting and a community asset. Since then, significant public funds have been invested in the stadium with these objectives in mind, including grants of £514k from the Football Foundation and the Community Ownership Fund. We have received a number of representations so far, and I think that the ones that we have seen demonstrate that people hold very powerful and passionate views about this site, and we really do recognise that. But I'm asking everyone here tonight to treat everyone in the room and everyone outside of it with dignity and respect. I will be clear, disorder and bad behaviour in this meeting will not be tolerated. It is also a tight schedule, and this is an important decision. We have to get through this. It's not going to be an easy decision or possibly an easy evening. We know, as I said, how strongly some of you feel on both sides of this, and we are committed to making this decision as openly, transparently, and as fairly as possible. So how we're going to do this, this is a quick run through of the programme tonight, is first of all, Peter is going to give a summary of the main aspects of the deal. Then we will have representatives of key stakeholders speak. They have been allocated 5 minutes each, and Peter will ensure that everyone keeps to time. There will be no interruptions during those speeches. We will then have time for questions for speakers from public and councillors, questions to speakers, I should say. Please do not repeat anything that has already been said. We will then have an update from the Deputy Town Clerk on representations and on the decision-making criteria, so how we need to make this decision. Because what we will be considering includes commercially sensitive information, we will then go into a private session. Not sure how long that will last, but we will return to this room to vote in public at the end of the meeting and to explain our decision. So, let's get started. So first up is Peter Wheelhouse, who is the Deputy Town Clerk, who will provide a summary of the main aspects of the deal under consideration tonight.
Well, good evening, everyone. Many of you will have seen the private operators' proposals. They were attached to the council report, which was published. And obviously, you would have probably read the report itself, which outlines the key elements of the deal. So hopefully many of you will be familiar with all of those things, but we felt that it would be useful to provide a reminder of the main elements of the deal on the table at this meeting. So I'm going to read these quite carefully because it's important that you all understand the key elements of the deal. The first one is that it is proposed that Frome Town Council leases on a 23-year full repairing lease at £23,000 per annum. And there are 5 yearly rent reviews on that, subject to the retail price index or whatever index is relevant at the point at which the review takes place. There is a mutual break clause, so this can be exercised by either party without cause and subject to a 1-year notice period. There is an option to purchase, enabling future investment in the stadium, and ongoing sporting and ancillary community use of the stadium is proposed by the private operator. Agreements with Frome Town Women and Frome Town United are intended to accompany the lease at the point at which it is completed. The lessee has the right to assign the lease subject to the Town Council's approval, and the Town Council has the right of first refusal. There is what is known as an overage provision. I'll try and explain that. So that enables the Town Council to share in the profit from any uplift in value should the lessee buy the ground and sell it on. The Town Council will also have the right of first refusal to buy it back should the lessee decide to buy it. And then finally in this list is termination of the CBS lease. So that's it in terms of the run through of the main elements of the deal. Back to Fiona as chair.
Yes, thank you, Peter. So next up, we have speakers from the 6 stakeholders. I don't actually have the list of them in front of me.
They're on the screen.
They're on the screen. There we go. Danny first from Frome Town AFC. You have 5 minutes. Don't know. Go. Yeah, go for it.
Put the right hand down. Okay.
Good evening, everybody. So my name's Danny Greaves. I'm the first team manager at Frome Town. I've been with the club for 7 years. I think it's important to note that in 2018 there was a change in the board, and only one member of that previous board remained on the new board. Derek Graham took over as chairman during that period. We had a number of key objectives which you can see on the screen. Restore financial stability, grow attendances, increase engagement with the local community and businesses, build links with Frome Town United, and build a successful men's first team. I think it's really important to note that in the 6 years under the new board, financially as a business, Frome Town AFC have broken even, whilst also clearing some of the legacy debts that were left from the previous regime. I think that's important to note. So just touching on some of the community engagement. So as a football club, we have a significant following on social media, which shows not only the power of Frome Town. Sorry, just need to bring the mic a bit closer. Okay, yeah. So not only the power and support that we've got within the town, but also much more far-reaching. In terms of football users of the site, pre-CBS and also during recent times, Frome Town Women have used the site for over 40 years. Frome Town United have used the site for over 20 years, as well as other football users, which I think is really important. On the right-hand side, which you're not intended to be able to read all of those, but prior to the CBS, over the many years, there's been over 45 that we can remember and we've captured of community users of the Badgers Hill site. And this is intended to continue under the private operators regime if he's successful. And as you can see here, this is reality. This isn't a pipe dream. This is what this site should be used for and will be used for going forward. It's also important to note from a men's football playing side, our attendances have grown significantly over the years. So I've put there the 7 years since I've been at the club, averaging 200 supporters walking through the gate. Over the last 5 years, we've averaged 550 supporters walking through the gate. So over 150% increase. I think that shows community spirit right there. People of Frome Town coming out, voting with their feet, coming through the gates and enjoying football. We've got a diverse group of supporters, families, women, men and children, which wasn't there before. We've now created that, which I'll touch on shortly. And as well as the men's football team, we've also got the women's and youth team who have played over 20 games on the site in the last season. Sorry, I moved too quickly then. Just, I think it's important to note that the men's football team have had a really successful last 5 years, reaching multiple cup semi-finals in the Somerset Cup, one Somerset Cup final, really good runs in the FA Cup and the FA Trophy, a league runners-up, and then ultimately a promotion back to Step 3, which is the highest level of football the club's ever played at. And for those of you who were in the room who were at the playoff final, I think you would have felt the sense of community in that game. Over 2,000 fans there supporting the club on that day. It was a great day. The reason I mention that is I think it's important to note that the success of a football team on the pitch creates the footfall into the grounds. So the attendances have grown massively. That has a massive effect in terms of the revenue in the bar that we generate from the social club. In the last 18 months up to the period of January, the revenue generated by the bar, 60% of that revenue comes from match days. So it shows the power of what Frome Town Football Club can generate in terms of generating that footfall. 25 days we have men's first team football games, and that generates 60% of the revenue in the bar, 5% of the annual trading period. So I'm saying that for two reasons. One, it shows the power of the men's first team and the people that come in to support the club. But two, the opportunity within that bar is huge. 60% of the revenue can be generated from 5% of the trading period. There's loads of opportunity.
That's your 5 minutes up.
Is it really?
It is. It was on my phone.
Okay.
Thank you. I'm going to keep people to it because otherwise I'm going to have to allow other people to have more time.
I understand.
Thank you.
I'll leave that there for people to see as I walk back to my seat.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. I will do the time, yeah. And up next is Lester Silk from Frome Town Football Club Supporters Association.
Which one do I press?
Right.
Yeah. Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I represent Frome Town Supporters Club, 162 members, men, women and children, as well as the collective supporters at the club. I'm here tonight on behalf of the supporters to wholeheartedly support the proposal by a new lessee to take over the lease from the current CBS. I do not want to dwell on the failings of the CBS, but they have failed to deliver their mandate. It was not the right vehicle from the start to deal with this unique Frome problem. It has never been fulfilled, it has never fulfilled its role as a functioning body and has been operating in Corrit for several months. They have turned away community involvement such as the darts teams, the pool teams, as well as Young Persons Darts Academy. Many of them are supporters of Frome Town Football Club. The CBS has made financial demands on the supporters club, which is not workable. We have been banned from using the premises since the last game of the season in April, buildings which the supporters club own. It even shows when last night our team manager Danny, wanting to sign on new players for the forthcoming season, the clubhouse was not open for him to do this. Embarrassing, to say the least. A third of the CBS membership is made up of members of the Supporters Club, who joined when the CBS was initially set up, hoping that it was going to be successful. But this has not been the cause. In fact, to the contrary, I feel very disheartened as to the way they have been treated, the supporters and the community. The proposal by the new lessee is not a stranger bearing gifts. His vision for the club is clear, with interest and investment not only in the teams, but with community involvement at Badgers Hill, something that unfortunately has disappeared. The Supporters Club is not just there for one team. The word supporters gives it away. We are all there for all the teams and the supporters that play under Frome Town banner, the women's team, the youth teams, and we want to encourage membership by these teams and would welcome representation by all of these onto the committee of the Supporters Club. A new beginning, we say. We play an important part in the helping financially and fundraising. Since the Supporters Club was formed in 2012, we have raised just over £118,000, which has been helpful to buy vital equipment, players' medical expenses, and to fund general day-to-day running costs of a non-league football club. Football at Badgers Hill means so much to the community as a place to meet with friends and family. For those who are struggling with mental health issues, etc., to lose this would be disastrous. And we know that should the new lessee not be granted the lease, then Frome Town AFC will be in extreme danger of not continuing at Badgers Hill due to the demands of the CBS, which intends to impose financially. This will have a knock-on effect with the women's team and the under-18s. The CBS do not own Frome Town AFC and never will. The club belongs to Frome Town Holdings Limited with the golden share. This share will be passed on only to the new lessee once its decision has been made. No, wrong one. Always never good at technical stuff.
It's the right hand.
Yeah.
Right hand arrow.
Which one?
The right hand arrow.
Press that one, Peter.
Yeah,
There we are.
you do it.
So there you go. Is that what you need, Lester?
Yeah, I can go on to the next one now.
I've paused for 30 seconds or so.
Back, Peter.
Anyone is keeping.
Very sensitive. There we go.
It was only 18 months ago I had the pleasure of attending the Football Supporters Association Awards evening in London with Frome Town Council, who won the prestigious non-league award for saving Frome Town Football Club. Tonight, I am urging councillors to agree to this proposal by the new lessee to save the club once again for a secure future for football, not only for the men's team, the first team, the women's team, and the under-18s, etc., and those who would have the use of Badgers Hill for a long time. Let's make Badgers Hill great again. Please hand over this lease to the new lessee to secure Badgers Hill for football and the community. One more click, I think. Power.
Laura?
Okay.
Without a football club, there are no supporters. Without supporters, there is no football club. Thank you.
Thank you. That was literally right on time. Next up, we have Max Hurst from Frome Town Community Benefit Society.
Good evening, councillors. My name is Max Hurst, Chair of the Frome Town Community Benefit Society. On behalf of the board and our members, thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. We're here to ask you to reject the lease to buy proposal for Badgers Hill, which will place long-term control of one of Frome's most valuable public assets into private hands. The proposal is flawed in principle, dangerous in practice, and crucially offers no clear community benefit outside the men's team. Firstly, a risky proposal with no tangible community benefit. There is no evidence in the proposal of how the local community would benefit. No service plan, no pricing structure, no inclusive programming, and no measurable outcomes. In fact, the proposal fails to even mention community benefit as a priority. This omission matters, not just morally, but legally. I myself, responsible for supporting democratic governance within a different council, understand firsthand that under Section 123 of the Local Government Act 1972, councils are required to ensure that any disposal of public land, whether freehold or leasehold, is done in a way that secures the best value for the community. That means value isn't just financial, it's also social and cultural. There is little, if anything, in this proposal that shows how the local community would gain from handing a public asset to private control from community ownership. Just a vague vision centred around a single rent team and speculative income streams. Secondly, a track record that undermines public trust. The main supporters of this proposal, the FTFC board, have a documented pattern of serious financial and governance failures that cannot be overlooked. These include serious financial mismanagement. While holding dominant positions on the previous CBS board, members of the FTFC board authorised the use of £23,000 in community-raised CBS funds intended for long-term development to pay FTFC staff and players. This clear breach of financial purpose is part of a broader pattern of mismanagement in FTFC, including over £28,000 in unpaid floodlight bills and the unexplained diversion of grant funding intended for new changing rooms without authorisation. Unlicensed trading and compliance failures. Alcohol has been sold by FTFC without a licence, exposing them to legal risk and showing complete disregard for the law. Threatening and abusive behaviour. There are documented incidents of intimidation, verbal abuse and threatening conduct, including towards volunteers, bar staff and Frome Town women. This is not conjecture. It is documented and traceable. The FTFC board has attempted to divert attention from these failures by spreading misinformation and unfounded claims online. How can it be justified putting Badgers Hill back into the hands of those who have repeatedly placed the club in financial jeopardy and demonstrated disregard for legal compliance, transparency and public trust? Third, an exclusionary vision. The original lease to buy proposal made no mention of Frome Town Women or Frome Town United's youth team until it became clear the community and the council were watching. There was no outreach from the proponents to either team. Instead, both were forced to initiate contact themselves. Even now, what is being offered is vague, last-minute access agreements with no governance role and no meaningful guarantees of continued support. Frome Town Women already operate on minimal resources, reusing old kit, self-funding and relying on volunteers. After years of exclusion and disrespect by the FTFC board, are they now expected to trust that this time will be different? This is not inclusion. Equality demands structure and commitment, not vague promises. Fourth, a proven community-led alternative. There is a viable path forward that protects the council's interests, including all football teams, and serves the wider community. Since mid-December, the Community Benefit Society has operated under new leadership, one that is independent from the FTFC board, with good governance and focused on true community benefit. In just 6 months, we have returned the clubhouse to full legal compliance, cut debt by more than 50%, delivered capital upgrades at no cost to the council, such as a brand new bar and cellar, rebuilt trust with Frome Town Women, Frome Town United and other user groups, put in place proper financial oversight and governance. Our new proposal goes further and offers a federated government model where all users have access and input into decisions, including the men's, women's and youth teams. A realistic, costed business plan, including a 3G pitch for sustainable year-round community use, and use of the site for wider public good, including warm hubs, youth services and food programmes. The CBS has a clear duty to provide community benefit, and this is a plan that delivers it. In closing, councillors, you are being asked to hand over one of Frome's most significant public assets, yet the lease to buy proposal lacks financial modelling, governance safeguards, accountability and any substantiated community benefit. By contrast, our proposal is lower risk, higher impact and fully aligned with your duty to protect public value, with a clear role for all teams, including the men's, as part of an inclusive community-led future. We respectfully urge you, reject the lease to buy plan, keep Badgers Hill in community hands and work with us to build a Badgers Hill for everyone in Frome. Thank you.
Thank you, Max. Thank you. Right. No. Questions will come after everyone has spoken. Please do stick to that. Right, next up we have Tara Tomley from Frome Town Women Football Club.
Thank you. Ooh, poke myself in the face with the microphone. Good evening all. Thank you for enabling me to speak. My name is Tara and I'm a board member of Frome Women Football Club. If you'd asked me 6 weeks ago what I'd be doing at the end of our season, I would have been saying taking a well-earned rest. I didn't expect to be standing here tonight. But I am, and maybe it says something about how unpredictable and powerful football can be. It brings people together, and sometimes, as we are seeing, it drives them apart. After 30 years in civil and public service, adhering to the values of fairness, honesty, objectivity and accountability, this situation has been difficult to watch. A bit like a game of football at times, twists, turns, tensions, some corners, the occasional goal, far too many own goals, and in small pockets, even unnecessary hooliganism. I'm relieved that the decision on this disposal of this public asset isn't mine, or even Frome Women's. It's one of the few perks of being a very tiny minority stakeholder in this game. We want you to know, though, that whatever the outcome, we'll choose respect, we'll choose unity, and we'll work for what's best for the community, and I urge others to do the same. At the last council meeting, we were asked what Frome Women hoped for our future at Badgers Hill. We said to keep playing there, but honestly, we found the question really hard, because we've grown used to expecting the bare minimum, just enough to survive. As a team, we proved that football can be different. We've worked hard to collaborate with every football stakeholder, and some have been more open than others. Our partnership with Frome United is a true collaboration success story. Frome Women manager and CEO Ben is also head of girls football at Frome United. Ben is incredibly modest and always says it's not about him, but thanks to his vision and the vision of those that support it, over 120 women and girls now play football in Frome every week. That's a 300% rise over the past 3 years. It's incredible. There is, for the first time ever, a complete footballing pathway from girls aged 6 right through to adult age open football. This season alone, almost half the women's team grew from Frome United players. Those girls and women are local to Frome. They are our community, and they and their families directly benefit from the opportunity that sport affords, through playing, through watching, through creating moment after moment of true inspiration. Together with Frome United, we've built a 5-year vision that includes growing our squad and working with others to unlock the opportunities for more women and girls to play football in Frome, to triple the number of female coaches, because representation matters. We want to provide support to our players to access more football coaches, to physios, to performance coaches, the things that are standard for other teams. We want to secure the funding to allow our players to play at the highest level, not just surviving, but progressing proudly. And we want to do that in a place where there are others who are accepting, where all are valued and respected, and intimidation isn't part of the landscape. So in answer to the question, and thank you for asking, that's what we want. Like any good business, we tailor our plans to what we can afford, because if it isn't grounded and sustainable, it simply won't last. Only yesterday, we found out that our great performance on the pitch last season made us eligible for promotion. We're incredibly proud of the team, and they play great football. But sadly, we won't be hiring an open-top bus for a tour of Frome or setting off flares in celebration. Like last season, we won't accept that promotion because we can't afford it. Yes, we believe in ambition. It drives us, but ambition that's honest, sustainable, and shared. We're not chasing hype and illusion of future glory. We're building something real, sustainable, and Badgers Hill, our home of 45 years, has always been part of that plan. The women and girls of Frome deserve that. So what's next for Frome Women? Right now, our future at Badgers Hill is hanging on a knife edge. Since the last council meeting, we've had a flurry of conversations with various stakeholders, including the private bidder that we instigated. Frankly, it's felt rushed, reactive, and last minute, because it was. Peter said in the introduction that we've agreed a licence with the private bidder. We have not. Whilst we remain hopeful what the future can hold for women's football in Frome, we need leadership at Badgers Hill that genuinely puts the women's game at its heart. And frankly, what's on the table right now doesn't cut it, yet. It's not all been doom and gloom, though. Since Christmas, we've had meaningful discussions with the Reformed Community Benefit Society directors. They've been to some of our recent games and they have supported us. We've started to see a glimmer of change. For the record, I want to thank Anne, Philip and Max for welcoming us, and want you to know that we see the integrity and effort that you've brought to your roles despite huge pressure elsewhere. Frome Women were recently named in an early day motion in Parliament. To the geek in me with the politics degree, that absolutely filled my heart with joy. It was one of those rare moments when you realise the work that you're doing, week in, week out, mostly behind the scenes and often against the odds, is being noticed. Thank you to Anna Sabine, MP for Frome and East Somerset, and colleagues for recognising us and making that happen. It wasn't just symbolic, it was powerful. It said this matters, women's football matters, community-led sport matters. What's happening in Frome is part of a bigger movement, one that is demanding visibility, equity and investment. When women's football is taken seriously, it sparks real change, not just in sport, but in people, in leadership, in communities, and who gets to belong.
Okay, I'm going to finish you you there. Thank you, Tara. Do you want to clarify quickly? Do you want to clarify now? Next up, we have Lee from Frome Town United.
Well, you'll all be pleased to know I won't be taking 5 minutes.
Oh, time anyway, just in case.
Good evening. I'm the current chairman and co-founder of Frome Town United Football Club. Our club was formed by the merging of 3 youth football clubs within the town: Frome Town Robins, Frome Town Youth and Frome Collegians Youth. The club was formed in 2021. Our football club has over 650 registered children and around 40 teams. It is one of the biggest youth football clubs in Somerset. We have over 100 volunteer coaches, groundsmen, committee members giving up their time each week to support youth football in Frome. Everyone at FTU is a volunteer. We're an award-winning football club, on and off the field, being recognised twice by Somerset FA for Girls Wildcats Centre of the Year. 12 months ago, we agreed that Mells and Vobster United would also join Frome Town United to form our adult section. Therefore, we now have a pathway for our boys through to men's football and the girls through to women's football through our association with Frome Town Women. Over the coming years, we intend to set up a walking football team and an over 50s football team. You're more than welcome to join. We're now offering disability football in Frome, with the first training session held last week by FTU coaches. We were only formed in 2021. We are a significant, and if not the largest community asset in Frome. We are well managed by a team of volunteers. We lease land at Critchell Manor Estate, where we have 8 pitches. We also have agreements with Frome College, Selwood School and Mells Recreational Ground to use their facilities. Our under-18s have a long-standing agreement with Frome Town AFC to use Badgers Hill, as they play in the Western Counties Floodlit Youth League. This is the only FTU team that generally uses Badgers Hill. Our committee is made up of 23 volunteers, and some of them have many years' experience of football in Frome. I asked them for a view on behalf of Frome Town United regarding Badgers Hill, and I will summarise the view of my committee. The position of Frome Town United is we have a good relationship with Frome Town AFC via our under-18s team, and as Danny showed, with our younger teams being mascots at home games. We also have a good relationship with Frome Town Women, with the manager, as mentioned by Tara, Ben Bolland, also being the head of girls football. The only question we needed answering is that would our under-18 team continue to play at Badgers Hill, and of course Frome Town Women, as we're their parent club, and would they be able to continue at Badgers Hill? And from my conversations with the various stakeholders, including Frome Town AFC and the prospective leaseholder, I'm told this will not be a concern, but we haven't signed an agreement as of yet. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. And finally, up next is Darren from the National Football Supporters Association.
Hello, everybody. The Football Supporters Association strongly believes that the most sustainable future and greatest community value for football in Frome lies with Badgers Hill remaining in community ownership. Perhaps a place to start is by posing the question, what is a football club and who is it for? If we're told time and time again that football has the power to unite, change people and change societies, then the wider definition that is a community asset is to benefit as many people as possible, then this is most relevant. And so with this view in mind, Frome Town councillors can create a lasting legacy for their term of office by deciding to maintain community ownership. And your legacy could facilitate not just Frome Town Football Club's first team, men's team, but also different things such as a 3G pitch for all ages and abilities, playing on the pitch day in, day out, just as Moneyfields FC of the Isthmian League. A first meeting can be set up with the Somerset FA to discuss this by the end of this month, not 5 years. Expansion of more opportunities for Frome Town's women, with new teams, multiple women's recreational teams, just like Bury FC, where there are over 250 women playing recreational football each week. And local schools, like Haysdown School, they could be measuring different lines on the pitch and measuring angles, and looking at league tables, practicing their maths, just like happens at Rochdale FC. Or students at Selwood Academy heading to matches, doing match reports, practicing their English and their literacy work, similar to 103 clubs undertaking the Premier League Reading Stars around the country. And also the local NHS with social prescribing, such as it happens at Chesterfield FC. The decision the council makes today can start to make this a reality. It happens elsewhere and it can happen here. But I understand there's an alternative where the council allows a private individual to serve a much narrower definition of community. Importantly, 500 football fans, that's what the FSA does, but it's out of the wider context of 28,000 people in the town. There are huge risks and unintended consequences enabling a community asset to benefit just 2% of the population. 2022, we saw a financial meltdown of the football club. The FSA helped out. 2025, we see inherited floodlight debt and a conversation with the Southern League and HMRC debt. The business plan is flawed, and given the involvement of previous custodians, doing the same over and over again, expecting a different outcome, as they say, is insanity. The business plan stated that the target is the National League. Yeovil Town did this. It cost them a £2.8 million debt, and they are 10 times the size of Frome Town. Aspiring for the National League will bankrupt this club. And what community use is a bankrupt football club? And it's easy to think that this wouldn't happen, but ask the fans of Macclesfield, Chester, Hereford, Darlington, Scarborough, and my own personal experience as a Bury fan, Bury FC. And if the club were to go bust because of consistent and continued overspending, and remember, a flawed business plan would suggest there is a lack of sustainability. What would happen if there was a ground but no club? Does the stadium get land banked? It's in a prime location for a nice housing estate. Surely this wouldn't happen either, would it? But ask fans of Basingstoke, and amongst others, Nuneaton, or Northwich Victoria, or Grays Athletic, or Ruston and Diamonds, who 14 years after going bust, the land lays dormant and there's a leisure park still waiting to be built on it. In 1921, the FA banned women from playing football on FA-regulated pitches, and here we are, 104 years later. Frome Town women have been given a contract to sign, granting them permission to play. Are we not past the stage where we are granting women permission to play football? Contracts can be drawn up in minutes, but culture can only be changed with authentic, sustained action. So to what extent will the destruction of Frome Town Women FC be an acceptable level of collateral damage to achieve for benefiting a small part of the population? Regrettably, I received an email yesterday warning about protests and providing an option to attend the meeting online. And I would urge the council to consider whether a culture of intimidation can ever enable Badgers Hill to be the utopian community club that it wishes to be.
Brilliant, thank you. Please do leave it there, thank you. Okay, quiet everyone. I just want to thank all the speakers for the considerable time and effort and energy that they put into preparing those speeches and the passion with which they all spoke. I think that came across. Before we go any further, I was just going to ask you, Peter, just to come back on the question that Tara mentioned around, I think it was a slight,
Okay, so
confusion.
Sarah, thanks for the point that you raised about the agreement. I was aware that an agreement hadn't been signed. I think what I was trying to get across earlier was that our expectation, and certainly our thoughts, were that as part of the deal, that there would be agreements with Frome Town Women and Frome Town United before a lease is completed. But I hadn't intended to indicate that an agreement had been signed, but thank you for that clarification.
So that is a condition of the heads of terms as it stands.
As it stands, that is what the heads of terms say.
Okay, thank you. Right, we're now going to go to questions and comments. We have, I think, a couple of people roving mics. We have one person, definitely, Jane. So if you'd like to put your hands up, if anyone has a question or comment, but please do keep it short. The person over there in the back, I can't see who they are, but they're waving very enthusiastically. Yeah, could you please say your name before speaking?
David Parry. As the people well aware around this room, I helped the CBS get the funding for the building work. Just a few general points, and I too take exception that a comment made in Mr. Hurst's presentation suggested and actually accused those on the CBS board from making decisions in terms of supporting individuals, certainly not players. I find that deeply offensive, and I hope that is taken into account by the people around the room, because that was not the truth. We must bear in mind that the council actually approached Derek Graham, the football club's chairman, to get people onto the board rapidly. We had to get it on rapidly to allow the process to get the changing rooms and the roof done urgently. So that's what was happened, and if anyone thinks that I took a decision based on friendship, I will take them to court for defamation. Secondly, £28,000 of floodlight debt. That is the first time any of us have heard it. We all know that in the first year of the CBS operation, that the floodlights bill was paid for by the CBS. So for that statement to be said out loud this evening is disingenuous, to say the least. And what I don't like is no one has ever said that the women can't play there. That has never been said from the word go. 45 years, Frome Town women have rightly been playing at Badgers Hill with no problems whatsoever. So I don't understand why there's a hang-up over that. And as finally as the FSA's comments, some of those comments are really extreme, to say the least. We all know the problems involved. Let's get this clear again. The current board has operated break-even. In Danny's speech, the debt was a problem before, which was dealt with, and it's the previous board, not the current board. The repeat of the floodlight element is not true. And the private individuals made it clear that he wants to run it in a sustainable manner. There is no point. The quote he said to me recently was, "You can't spend what you don't get." And as for the 2%, of course, it was a lot more than 2% that saw the playoff final and got the town mentions on the local Points West and whatever, so it did have a wider effect. And Councillor Campagna has said to me in the past that a successful Southern League club needs revenue from the clubhouse gate and sponsorship to be successful. This proposal on the CBS would not allow us that. And actually, a prime example, he's got friends with Evesham United's chairman. That's the model he was advised to do. This proposal would actually effectively neuter Frome Town Football Club as a force for the future. It wouldn't be able to compete at any level at all, and gate money would fall. It goes without saying, anyone knows football, if you reduce the quality of the players on the pitch, fewer people turn up, and the business model is not sustainable. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to ask for more comments and questions, but I do want to move on. And if there are any sort of, coming back on any of the accusations that are made, I will stop it immediately. We do have to stay focused on the decision that we're making tonight, which is about whether or not we accept the offer to lease with an option to buy. So I will be stopping, anything that goes sort of beyond that now. Over there.
Gary Collinson. Just one quick thing about community use. When I was...
Could you introduce yourself as well? Sorry.
Yeah, Gary Collinson is my name. I previously was involved with running the clubhouse. I'm the demon director that's still on the board from forever, that these guys keep referring to. But basically, when we were running the clubhouse as a football club, as you saw on Danny's slide, there are 45 community groups using the premises that we could recall. off the top of our head. At the moment, I think there are probably 2 or 3. So my question for the CBS would be, if you're going to benefit the community, why haven't you done so in the last 2 years? Everything that was there has now disappeared.
Okay, Max, as... Okay, hold on. Max, as representative from the CBS, would you like to reply to that? Wait till you have a microphone.
All I would say is that last bit about there being only 2 or 3 is not true, and councillors will have seen our counter proposal and seen a lot.
Let him speak.
A lot of what we have been doing, a lot of what we propose to do. It's very important to note that, of course, the CBS's history goes back past our 6 months. We've been there for 6 months trying to repair a lot of the damage that was caused by before our arrival, and so we're now trying to build on top of that repairing.
Okay, thank you. And I'm going to reiterate again, we need to move on from this now, and I will stop the next question. Lady with the amazing hair.
Pinky. I'm Stephanie Rees, even. Question for really the council and Max. Have you been receiving rent from the CBS?
Peter, would you like to answer that?
In short, no.
Okay. So another.
Can I just be clear? Sorry, can I just be clear? Tonight's decision that you know, we can continue to ask this, but it's not going to affect the decision of the council tonight. The decision is not about the CBS tonight, and I just want to be really clear on that. So we can continue to ask questions, but it's not going to help going forward. It is not about the CBS. It is about the lease. It is, that is being proposed.
Okay, but the CBS brought up how giving the lease to a private lessee would get rid of it for the community. Okay. The end of it for the community. However, if CBS are not in a financial viable situation and have debt collectors come into the door, then surely then it's lost for good.
There are other options, I think, would be the short answer to that. As I said, this is about the one option that's on the table. It's at the back.
Hello, I'm Ryan, and I'm also, as a football head, I'm also autistic, and I also represent the pod. I do believe, I just want to add something as well, that I know the pod are considering like other things because they're very concerned the way they've been treated by the CBS. We've had discos where we've had no heating and they're all vulnerable people. So I just hope that you councillors can consider that as well as a point as view, because like the new leaseholder could be a big thing for the club and the fans. So I just hope you consider that for people like me who volunteer, take my time out for the club on the Saturday and enjoy going up there to watch the football and stuff. And just, it's my life really, and I'd be lost without the football. So I just hope you put that in.
Thank you very much. I'm going to go to councillors now for questions. Lisa, you've got your hand up.
Hello, Councillor Merriweather. I had been involved quite heavily at the beginning of the project. And though I voted against us acquiring the asset, I felt quite committed to ensuring that football continued to thrive in Frome. I've always been a big supporter of all the teams being able to access the site. And I'm under the impression that we're not talking about people not playing football on the site. That's not the decision that we're making. So if we decide to lease it or if we decide not to lease it, we are not making a decision about whether football plays on the site. Am I right?
Peter, do you want to reply, or Paul? Yes. As I said, the decision tonight is very, very clear. It is whether or not to accept the option to the offer to lease with the option to buy from a private operator. That is the only decision. What happens after that, either way, is up for discussion. Tracy.
So, just so that I understand, and as a councillor, the decision I'm being asked to make tonight is on whether it would be leased to this lessee, to this proposal. It's not based on my feelings or dreams or passions, or whether I do or don't understand the detail of who did or said what to each other along the way. So without dismissing that stuff. It's obviously very important for people. It's about whether I am sticking to the legal and moral obligation of what I have to do to make sure I serve the community. It's not about whether one person or another, or one organisation or another organisation at the moment did or didn't do anything, or would or wouldn't do another thing. It's about the obligation.
That is
legally.
correct. That is correct. And before we go into private session, Peter will share the decision-making criteria for the decision. Yes, this guy here.
Simon Hardin. I've got a couple of questions for the CBS and one for the FSA. The FSA, this is the
If
first
it
time
is about allegations, I will stop you.
No, it's not allegations.
Okay.
It's the first time I've met you. I'm a supporters club member. Have you had any liaison with the supporters club, or is it just the fact that you sponsor the CBS that you're back in the CBS?
Darren, would you like to reply back to that question of...
I have had interaction with the supporters club, and I have had a meeting, and I have had email exchanges.
Okay.
So, did you take on board what the supporters club opinion was, or is it just the fact you've gone on a whim and supported the CBS?
No. Did I take on the supporters club?
When you've seen the supporters club proposal tonight, that was not back in the CBS, but you were back in the CBS. So
you asked me, did I take it on board? I took it on board. I don't necessarily agree with it.
So, yeah, but you spouted a lot.
He's given an answer now. Let's move on.
I'll just say one thing. You spouted a lot of football clubs tonight. One you didn't spout was Banbury United, who are in a similar situation to Frome Town are. And because their supporters club are looking at selling their ground to a private leaseholder. So, because the CBS hasn't worked at Banbury, but you never mentioned that. You mentioned all the clubs where it has worked.
Because they're not going to.
Okay, thank you. Let's move on. Carla. No, Carla. Go to Carla. Thank you.
So, Councillor Collinette. So I just want to share an observation. So this is not a football match. It's not us and them. So I'm hearing a lot of very confrontational language, confrontational body language, us and them, right or wrong. That is not the discussion this evening. And whatever is decided, it's not that one side has won. So...
No, please let Carla finish.
So
one person speaking at a time.
I understand the passion and commitment of everybody involved, and I'm incredibly impressed by the passion and commitment of everybody involved. But just for your sake and for our sake as well, and everybody that's listening online, this is not a decision about who is right and who is wrong, and who has won and who has lost. This is not a football match. This is not about whether we support football or we don't support football. This is not about whether we agree with what the CBS has done or not done, what the football club has done or not done. This is about, do we think the offer on the table is going to best serve the community and the community asset and all the money that has come from people's taxes that have bought this. This is not about whether we support football or not. So I just really want to make that clear.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much, Carla. Steve, over to you.
Good evening, Councillor Tanner. I'd just like to ask Tara, actually. You mentioned during your speech, so you're behind me. Yeah, sorry. That you couldn't afford the promotion. What would it, how much does it cost to be promoted? £10,000. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to, we need to go into a private session. There's obviously a lot for us to discuss, but I'll take one more question. Yes, you at the back, please, in the red jacket. Please do keep it short.
Good evening. My name's John Warman.
Thank you.
I have a question. Money talks. And what I haven't seen, I'm not an accountant, by the way, I haven't seen the details from either side about where money is coming from, how the club is going to be financed going forward. one of the key aspects does seem to be income, and that is generated by people using the facility. What I have heard, and I can't say I can substantiate it, but certain groups are currently not welcome at Badgers Hill. That does not seem a good way forward. What I am a bit at loss to understand is whether the Community Benefit Society has money to invest. How much? What are they going to do? Does the leasee...
So that's not under discussion tonight. We're not talking about the CBS tonight.
No. Okay.
There's only one offer on the table and that's it. So
The question therefore is, who is going to secure the long-term future of the club?
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the question. First of all, there's not two sides in this, to reiterate what Carla said. There is one offer on the table, and therefore there's only one offer that needs to demonstrate financial sustainability. Some of that is in commercial confidence, which is why we are going into private session to have a look at it. Right, so we're going to move on from that. I'm going to ask Peter to give an update on the representations we've received, and then also talk through the decision-making criteria as well.
So the first thing to remind you about is that we are required by law to notify the community if there is a proposal to dispose of an open space, public open space, in this case, Badgers Hill Stadium. And we put a notice in the Frome Times with a deadline for representations of the 3rd of June. With the report, I provided an indication of how many comments we'd received at that point. And I agreed that what I would do is update you on the comments that we had received. I won't go into a huge amount of detail, but I'll give you some numbers and also some themes that have emerged, if you like, from the representations. So in terms of those who support the proposal to lease Badgers Hill, we've had 77 comments in support. Most of those representations focus on football legacy, a frustration with current governance, and are also concerned with the issue of financial realism. So it kind of picks up on the point that the gentleman at the back there was raising. In terms of those that oppose the proposal to lease to the private operator, there were 22 comments, obviously fewer, but I should add that those representations included some very highly detailed and compelling arguments, especially around gender equality, inclusion and accountability. So that's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to go into a huge amount of detail, but I wanted you to know about the themes that were coming out of the representations that we received. Shall I move on to the next section?
Please do. Yes, please do.
Okay, so again, this won't be new to you because these points were actually raised in the report that was published. But I felt that it was important, just before we go into private session, to remind councillors and all of you here around the key considerations in taking a decision. The first one is around what is known as best consideration reasonably obtained and whether that's been achieved. I'll explain that to you. So what that means is, are there sufficient obligations or commitments from the private operator to preserve and maintain community benefit to justify a discounted rent? You'll be aware that the rent level on the table is less than the market rent that's been assessed by the council's own valuer. So that's the first question that councillors will need to consider. The second one is, are the interests of the council as landlord adequately safeguarded and the risks managed through the heads of terms that are on the table? And I should add that if the answers to both of those questions is yes, then councillors may consider whether the deal fits with the council's strategy and are they willing to forego other opportunities and options. But I should stress that those first two questions are the most important as councillors go into private session. So that's all I was going to say on that point.
Great. Thank you very much, Peter. Lisa, would you like to ask a question? We just quickly, though, and then we will vote. Yeah.
Just, I'd like to know if it's decided that it's a no to number one, if there's anything that any private operator can do to come back and address what we don't think has been sufficient obligations or commitments.
We can only, it's sort of, council legality and how it works is we can only make a decision tonight on the offer that has been negotiated so far and is on the table. If that is the answer, then we will need to regroup and have a think, and it could be that a door is open. But that would be up to us to decide a way forward. But the only thing we can decide upon tonight is what is on the table right now.
So to be clear for the room and people online, a no to question one would not be a no to allowing a private operator or one that is interested to lease the site. If the conditions were met that were sufficient, obligations and commitments.
It would be a separate decision, I think, but yes.
If something else came forward from the private operator or another proposal, then council would consider those on its merits in future.
Thank you. That's exactly what I needed to hear. Thank you.
Okay, great. I'm now going to propose that because of commercial confidentiality, we go into a private session. Can I get a seconder, please? Andy Jones, can everyone please vote going into private? I think Tracy's getting there, and that is unanimous. Right, we are going to go downstairs. We're going to move. So you're welcome to stay here, have cups of tea. You're also welcome to leave and go to the pub if you would like. I don't know how long it's going to take. I think you can see that this is going to be quite a big decision. We can't promise it will be quick, but you are welcome to stay up here and help yourselves to tea and coffee. We will be making the decision in public, so we will come back to make the decision formally. Thank you. Right. Ooh. We're not putting it up until I start speaking. Okay. Are we streaming again? Yeah. Already?
Yep.
Cool. Okay. Thank you all very much. We are now coming back into public session, having had a private session to deliberate, given the commercially sensitive nature of this proposal. Thank you all for your patience. I'm surprised to see so many people still here. I thought you'd all be at the pub by now, but thank you. Thank you for staying. We understand how much this asset means to so many people involved, and I just want to really emphasise the fact that we have taken this decision incredibly carefully. There's been a lot of deliberation, not just tonight, but over the last few weeks, and indeed sort of months while we've been under discussions with the private operator. As you saw earlier, this is a very complicated question and a very complicated decision that revolved around two questions that we are legally required to consider. The first is that, is there sufficient community benefit in the proposal to warrant the discounted rent? We are under a legal obligation to ensure the proposed community benefit sufficiently compensates for this discount. The second is that, are there adequate safeguards within the heads of terms to protect these benefits and the council's interests? So, having discussed and debated it, our conclusion from the private session is that the private operators, as the private operator's proposal stands, we consider that the legal criteria has not yet been met. However, we would like to leave the door open for the private operator to improve their offer in relation to guaranteed long-term community benefit. So that is the proposal in front of councillors, if we could get it up. That is what we will, oh, hold on, we're not quite there yet. Can we get it up on the screen? Okay, I will propose that as chair. Can I have a seconder? Please, Polly Lamb, all those in favour?
That's a majority. And you abstaining or abstaining?
Okay. Brilliant. Thank you very much. I know that this is disappointing for many of you, but I want to emphasise that the door is open to the private operator going forward, and I just want to thank you all very much for coming tonight. The next extraordinary council meeting is another extraordinary one, is on the 18th of June at 7 p.m. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you. No. We don't know if a proposal comes back. We will, if another proposal comes back, we will consider it. You know, we will decide what to do then. But
and when you say another proposal, that could be a re-bracketed proposal from the existing figure.
Yes, it could be. Yes, it could be.
It would be the same format as this.
Yeah, it would be, but it will be. But we would have to go through the whole process again and call another extraordinary council meeting and etc. Yeah, it would be a separate decision.
Does that mean we carry on with the CBS paying no rent?
As it stands, while things continue to unfold.
So going forward,
That's not for discussion tonight.
based on the fact
Money
no across, but surely some money is better than no money.
We have to look at the deal in front of us, which is what we did. It has nothing to do with the current situation and the CBS. That does not play any part in our decisions. But we have really considered this incredibly carefully, and there has been a lot for us to weigh. But thank you very much for coming. Thank you.